Hello, I'm calling from the Trib. I'd like to confirm a quote.
Getting you around for 2 hours. I'm coming up on deadline.
How much money was involved? Was it over $1,000? Was it over $10,000?
She had every symptom of an ectopic pregnancy.
It's tricky stuff.
Yeah. Oh, what I was worried with. Never up, never in. Well, you know, she's only 16 years old, so what do I say to her mother? Much less her father. Well, if I don't go in and it's an ectopic, you know, she could bleed to death. If I do go in and it's just a neurotic girl with functional cramps, well, you know, our family isn't going to be happy. Hey, John, this is your specialty. You know, you're going to appreciate this. Her red count is dropping, so we go in. And you know, the screwiest thing, no ectopic, it's just a ruptured ovarian cyst. Meanwhile, I'm the one with high blood pressure.
Excuse me. Are you Dr. Eastwick? Dr. John Eastwick?
Yes.
It's very hard to get hold of you, Doctor. That's why I had to find you here. My name is Jessica Downey. You don't know me, but you treated my mother, Nancy.
Oh, yes, Jessica. Well, I'm pleased to meet you.
In fact, you delivered me.
Well, I'm delighted that things turned out so well. How is your mother?
Oh, she's fine, Doctor. I'm the one who's sick. I have cancer because of you. Because of you. Because of you.
See, do you mind? This is personal.
What is it?
The shopping list.
La Brea Tar Pits, L.A. County Museum? What are you buying, the city?
It's for my parents. My mother doesn't think she's seen something unless she has a souvenir to bring back to the Prairie Daughters Assistance League.
Billy, I got something for you.
Why?
Excuse me, is this a bad time?
It's parents visiting week.
Well, I met your dad. He's a very nice guy.
They're both very nice people. They really are, but after 10 minutes, I feel like I'm back in high school.
Well, sure, that's normal. You always feel like a kid when you're around your folks. It's only when you come to work that you feel like a grown-up.
If you interrupt one more time, I'm sending you to your room without your supper.
Lou, I appreciate them. I really do. It's just their attitude. They're always so darn cheerful. And my mother insists on cooking fried chicken, pork chops, and goopy cream pies.
Oh, that's too bad.
Lou, you know that stuff is no good for you. I've heard you say hold the mashed potatoes.
Well, I like to keep trim. Listen, this story's been sitting on your desk all morning.
I'm sorry, Lou. I just didn't see it.
Story about a girl.
Lou, why do I always get the girl stories? Why not Rossi? Why is it always me?
This girl is suing a dozen drug companies. She's got a rare form of cancer they say is linked to a drug her mother took while she was pregnant. Hormone called DES.
What, you mean people have died from this?
They say a few. I think we ought to look into it.
Cancer?
Yeah, but, you're right. I always give you the girl story. So, Rossi.
You give this to Rossi, I'll kill you.
Diethylstilbestrol, DES, the wonder drug that was going to prevent miscarriages.
And did it succeed, Doctor?
Well, DES is a synthetic estrogen, a female hormone. The theory was give a woman more estrogen and she won't miscarry. The guy who invented it in England in the 30s didn't even wait for a patent. He wanted to give this miracle to the world. And he didn't care about making money.
Which left it wide open for the American companies to start producing DES.
It was a free-for-all.
Didn't they test it? Didn't they test it?
Sure. And there were cancers, but not enough to stop the FDA from licensing.
What do you mean, not enough?
Well, drug testing then was nothing like it is today. Now, in their testing, none of the pregnant rats got cancer. But some of the babies did, 6 months later. Now, that's 20 years in terms of human life, which brings us to today. I can't tell you the trouble DES is causing me.
You?
Let me show you something. Now, remember, the chances of a DES daughter developing vaginal cancer are less than 1 in 1,400. Any woman's chances of developing breast cancer are 60 times greater, so you see the DES percentage is small. But cancer isn't the only thing we're finding. Take a look at this. Now, this is a normal uterus. This is a T-shaped one of the type we're now finding in some DES daughters. You could have trouble having a baby here. There's no place for it to grow.
So a DES daughter also runs the risk of being sterile.
No, not sterile. A woman can conceive, but she may not be able to carry to full term. In addition, 98% of all DES daughters develop abnormal tissue growth. And we've only begun to research DES sons.
But you haven't answered my question. Does DES prevent miscarriages?
In 1952, this hospital did a study in which 1,000 pregnant women were given DES. Another 1,000 got a placebo.
And what did they find out?
They found out that DES is of no use whatsoever in preventing miscarriage.
Donovan, here's the quotes from the Public Utilities Commission.
We can use them. Let's see.
It's not much different than what they said last week. What can you say about a rate increase?
Why don't we ask some of the customers? I'll bet they'll have plenty to say.
Good idea.
You know who you ought to talk to?
Excuse me. We'd like to see the editor.
Can I help?
Are you the editor?
One of them.
We would like to talk to the person in charge.
Can you tell us what it's about?
The newspaper must make an apology.
What for?
A wedding announcement.
Sarah Hartunian to wed Jamal Azar.
Your daughter?
My niece.
Nice looking girl. Don't tell me she got stood up.
Quite the opposite. They intend to be married. But we can't have this announcement.
I'm sorry, but we've already run it. If we printed an apology for every wedding that didn't work out, we'd need a whole separate section.
But it was done without our permission.
Look, there's nothing we can do for you. We're kind of busy here. Give us a break, okay?
Why don't you talk to the society editor in the Today section? It's down the hall. Well, those days in the diplomatic corps weren't wasted, were they, Rossi?
Why? What'd I say?
You got the rate chart?
Still in graphics, I get it.
Hi,
Excuse me,
yes,
sir. Do you work here?
Yeah, can I help you?
Well, we want to talk to somebody in the Today section.
Is this a society item or an announcement that you want to see them about?
Yes, it's about a wedding announcement.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Congratulations. It's all the way down the hall and to the right. Congratulations.
Listen, I did not mean to be rude before.
You can understand why we are so upset.
Not really. What's the big deal about this wedding?
Our niece is a very good girl, but she thinks she's in love with a man who is not Armenian. How can we permit a public announcement?
I don't know. How can you prevent it?
The man she wants to marry is what we call an Otar, not Armenian.
Worse than Odar. He's a Turk.
Really?
She will be disinherited. So you see, it's not for ourselves, but for the sake of the girl that we must prevent this marriage.
Where is this society person?
Come on, I'll show you.
Oh, thank you.
I know this is a sensitive topic. That's okay. How did you find out that you were a DES daughter?
Well, Mom read about DES in a woman's magazine and remembered that she'd taken something.
I'd had 2 miscarriages before Jessica.
My gynecologist sent me to a DES screening clinic. They're all over the country. The doctor found a tumor, but he didn't call it that. He said, "We found a degree of disease." I don't think he could deal with telling me. I said, "A disease? You mean cancer?" He said, "Yes." Do you remember that?
At a time like that, you say to yourself, be calm, be rational. They have cures for these things now.
She's telling me not to cry, and she's got tears running down her face. What freaked me out was not so much having cancer as the possibility of not being able to have children. I really want to be a mother. Well, that was 3 years ago. They took out my vaginal wall and my right ovary. Monday, I go in again.
They think the left ovary may be cystic.
What are your claims against the drug companies?
That their negligence led to my pain and suffering, emotional distress, loss of parts of my body, loss of sexual enjoyment.
Do you mind talking about that?
I had to make a deposition in front of 11 male lawyers. Questions like, did you ever have a good sex life? Did you ever have an orgasm? How many men have you slept with?
Can I ask you those questions?
We're claiming a loss. I guess they have to prove I never had sexual enjoyment in the first place, so I had nothing to lose.
It was brutal. Can you imagine men asking my daughter questions like that?
Can you imagine me answering them in front of my mother?
Do you really think that it's the drug company's fault, or that it's a tragic accident?
Well, somebody's at fault.
You two seem very close.
Well, we have our moments, but we've been through so much.
You're a lot more open than I am with my mother.
She's a good kid. Have you asked your mother?
Have I asked my mother? No. Well, you know, I only heard about DES the day before yesterday.
Did she have any miscarriages or trouble with pregnancies?
No. Well, I do remember that my dad mentioned a baby brother who died somehow. Well, anyhow, Jessica, how much do you expect to get in the settlement?
Talk to her, Billy.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
No, I don't know, but they're terrific.
It's called Sarma. Hi, I'm George Phipps.
Oh, Joe Rossi. Dennis Price. Phipps. That's a fine old Armenian name.
Jamal and I were roommates at law school. Are you friends of the bride or the groom?
We don't know either one. We're from the Tribune. I'm gonna get some shots.
Doesn't it get a little boring just covering weddings all the time?
Oh, well, wait a minute. We're not from the society page. Artunian and his wife came to our office to retract the announcement about this wedding. They were very burned up.
Oh, that's Leon, Sarah's uncle. He's very conservative. They own a bank over in Riverside. There's a big Armenian community over there.
Yeah, well, why are they so upset?
Well, Jamal is a Turk.
Yeah?
And Sarah's Armenian.
Yeah, I've heard there's a problem, but,
the Turkish government systematically exterminated Armenians for centuries. There were mass executions in 1915 and 1916. I think Sarah's father and uncle were in Turkey then.
So when her father found out she wanted to marry a Turk...
He changed his will, cut her out completely, and left the money to an Armenian charity. It really hurt Saranush.
Saranush?
Well, that's Sarah's real name. In Armenian, it means love sweet.
Yes, indeed.
Hello, George.
Here. Well, you made it.
Yes, I didn't even cry.
Oh, this is Joe Rossi from the Trib.
Hi, Joe. I'm glad you could come.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I met your aunt and uncle.
Well, let's not spoil a beautiful day.
Let me get us some champagne.
All right. Come on, I'd like you to meet my husband.
You know, your aunt and uncle seemed like very nice people, a little overwrought, but what's bothering them?
Well, my whole family feels that Jamal and I are being selfish and that we only want to hurt them. Excuse me 1 second. I'd like you to meet my husband, Jamal. This is...
Joe Rossi.
From the Trib.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I was just telling Joe that if my relatives could only see how much they're hurting us, none of my family would even come today. I know that the past is very painful. It's just that it's none of our business, and that we feel it should be laid to rest.
Hopefully the courts will back us up.
The courts?
Sarah and Jamal are contesting the will.
It must be very rough going up against your own family in court.
Well, let's not talk about it now.
An Armenian toast to the bride and groom. Meg partzin veran charanak.
Very good, George.
May you grow old on one pillow.
Salute. I'd really like to talk to you some more about this. Can we meet later?
Well, not later tonight.
No.
Boy, the language they use. Pregnancy wastage, fetal salvage. Sounds like they're talking about a junkyard, not a woman's body.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if part of the reason for this DES situation comes from the attitude male doctors have toward women patients.
Could be.
Everything okay, Billy? You sound sort of distracted.
Well, yesterday I went to see my gynecologist for my yearly exam 4 months early.
Well, are you okay?
Well, she found some minor abnormalities, which could be nothing. Unless my mother took DES.
What do you mean unless? Did she or didn't she?
No.
Don't you talk to your mother? She's sleeping in your living room.
I can't talk to her about these things, Lou. She's old-fashioned.
Slip her a note at the dinner table. That way you won't have to say it out loud. It's better to know than not know and imagine the worst.
And boy, do I have a terrific imagination.
I've never seen such an elaborate pitch for a story.
Come on, Lou, you loved it. Do you mind if we split this?
Yeah. Look, why don't you just tell me about these people?
Oh, no, the background's important. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Hartunian. I'd like you to meet my editor, Lou Grant.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
Right?
Oh, aren't you having coffee after dinner, huh?
Oh, yeah, fine, sure.
Oh, you take a little suj. Hi, gagan suj.
So, you want to know how a father could be so cruel as to disinherit his daughter? And an uncle, such a monster as to uphold a will?
Well, it's one thing to have disagreements within a family, but it's another to take them to court.
It's Sarah who is suing.
Even so.
Maybe this will help you understand. Sarah's father and I were small boys together in a town of Van, which was in Turkey. One night, the Turks came and took our father, and all the young men of the Armenian quarter, marched them out of town and shot them. Our father was a teacher, you see, and a Turkish plan for solving the Armenian problem was to cut off the head of the community, the intellectuals first. Then, with all the young men gone, it was easy to massacre the rest.
Why would they do that?
Why? One can say because we were the shopkeepers and bankers, and the Turkish pashas didn't like that. Or one can say because the Turks accused us, without basis, of collaborating with the Russians who had invaded the country.
But that explains nothing.
No, you cannot explain genocide. In 1915 and 1916, 1.5 million Armenians were killed. Would you like to know how? We were marched into the desert to starve. Women were raped. Babies were thrown up in the air and impaled on swords.
Levon and his brother escaped only because the falling bodies protected them on the road when the Turks were galloping their horses over the dead.
Before the invasion of Poland, one of his advisors told Hitler, "You can't commit mass murder. What will the world say?" And Hitler replied, "Who still remembers the extermination of the Armenians?" If our own daughters don't remember, who will?
But if the next generation doesn't heal the wounds, won't the world be constantly at war?
Young people must realize their identity extends beyond themselves to their people.
Morning.
Oh, morning, honey.
What's in the news, Dad?
Oh, the usual.
Won't you have an egg today, dear? No, I'll just have my yogurt.
You eat like a bird.
You know how much cholesterol there is in bacon and eggs?
Aunt Evelyn fries everything in pork fat, and look at her.
Not a wrinkle, 84, and still has her own red hair.
86. And there's sugar in that yogurt.
Coastal Commissioner denies wrongdoing by Billy Newman. Looks like you really had him nervous here, honey.
Yeah, I think I got him nailed.
Why do you say that here?
Well, it takes time to develop these things.
This is certainly well written.
Punctuation good, all spelled right, and everything right.
You know what your mother still carries around with her?
Signs of spring.
Oh, Mother. Oh, no, that's so awful.
I keep it for good luck. First thing you ever published.
I wouldn't call Hickok Elementary School's poetry basket being published.
What are you working on now?
It's a story about DES. It's a female hormone that women took for 30 years.
Please, dear, not while we're having breakfast.
Your mother doesn't like to discuss hormones before lunch.
Mom, can I ask you something?
Mm-hmm.
The baby that you had before me, how old was he when he died?
How old?
Well, he was stillborn, Billy, at 7 months. Why do you want to know?
It was a miscarriage? Did the doctor give you anything while you were carrying me so that it wouldn't happen again?
I don't know. I think I took something.
What was it?
I don't know.
Didn't you ask?
Ask the doctor. There were probably vitamins.
Did he give you any shots or suppositories?
Billy?
Mother, I'm sorry, but it's important. You may have taken something harmful which might be affecting me now.
Dr. Bradley was an excellent physician.
Yes, but he might not have known.
Well, when we get back home, we'll call him.
Oh, I think he moved after he retired.
Well, maybe the drugstore has a record of it.
Billy, you're healthy. You've never had any problems. Now, don't go looking for trouble.
Mom, not looking at this isn't going to make it go away.
Billy, please.
Don't you worry about it.
I am worried about it.
Well, you've told us, and we'll take care of it.
Listen, just don't brush this off. This isn't something that just happens to other people, you know. And if there's something wrong with me because of something you took, how would you take care of it?
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
Be seated. Closing argument in defense of the will, please, Mr. Boyan.
Your Honor, under the state of California, a person may dispose of his property any way he wishes, provided he is mentally and physically competent. Now, there's no question that Mr. Hartunian was alert and lucid when he made these changes in his will. And his intent was very clear. He did not want his daughter to marry a Turk. Your Honor, the father witnessed the annihilation of his family. Isn't it right to try to rebuild that family? To communicate ethnic pride to his daughter? He made this provision not because he loved her less, but because he loved her more. A decision which must have caused him much anguish in the last days of his life, and a decision which this court is bound by California law to uphold. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyan. Closing arguments for the plaintiff, please, Mr. Phipps.
Your Honor, these two young, responsible people wanted to be married and start a family. The policy of this state is to encourage marriage. One of the great principles of this country has been the abandonment of ancient hostilities from other times and places, allowing people to start again, free from the bitterness of the past. To uphold this will would be to keep those wounds open, to go against the constructive urge in our society which encourages marriage, and to deny a basic right, the right to marry freely. It is not the business of this court, or even of an anguished father, to deny these two young people a future together, if they so choose. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The court will rule on this most difficult matter in 10 days. Court's adjourned.
Excuse me.
I hope you are proud.
I don't believe that my father wanted me to remember him this way. And I don't want my children to believe that they never had a grandfather. Papa loved me. He did.
And this is how you repay him, Siranush?
My name is Sarah.
Excuse me, do you think I could just answer?
Dr. Adams, please contact Dr. Margot.
Hi, Billy.
Hi.
Oh, that's pretty. You like it? My boyfriend brought it to me. Sweet of him.
How are you feeling?
Rotten.
Your mother told me.
Yeah. Well, at least I don't have to worry about birth control, right? I brought you some good news. That DES case in Wisconsin, you know, the one like yours, was decided. The jury awarded the woman $300,000. She was asking $8 million. It's a pretty good settlement. So she should be grateful? I have to tell you, it's pretty hard to feel grateful.
I know.
Well, having a man in your life who cares must help. Sure. Except who knows for how long. Come on. Hey, let's face it. There are a million women out there he can have a baby with and a normal sex life. Why should he want me?
Because you're still you?
Almost.
I didn't know what to say to her. To think that this tiny chemical changed her life before she was born, and now there is nothing to be done. It isn't fair.
Can I tell you something? When I went in the hospital for that thyroid thing 2 years ago, I really thought I was going to die. When you told you have cancer, I could even feel a little bugger when I pressed hard.
It's over, Lou. You're okay now.
Sure, now. But then I was angry. I wanted to blame everyone who pushed x-ray treatments for bad skin.
And you had every right to be. Sure, you were mad, and I'm mad. I'm mad at the drug companies. I'm mad at the doctor. And most of all, I am mad at my mother.
That isn't fair.
She acts so innocent in all this, Lou, like she isn't responsible for her own body.
Maybe she's too frightened to be any other way.
Yeah, and that's what bothers me. You know, Lou, when my uncle died, my mother was in the kitchen with all the kids making cookies, acting as if nothing had happened. Well, all the grown-ups were in the living room grieving. I was so embarrassed, making cookies.
Well, maybe that was a good idea, keeping everybody going.
Oh, yeah, sure. All I want is for her to say, I may have taken something that could hurt you, Billy. Let's find out. Is that too much to ask of her?
It could be.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
What's up?
Oh, good, Lou. Come in. How big a story is Billy planning to do on that hormone business?
It looks pretty good. She got some lengthy interviews, and she's still sifting through all that data.
Yeah. You know, our science and medicine writers just finished that long series on pesticides in drinking water.
So?
So, we're not publishing a science magazine here. I suggest that we hold off for a couple of weeks.
This is important, Charlie. They use DES to fatten up cattle, and they still give it to women as the morning after pill.
Oh, great. One more thing I can't eat, beef. At the beginning of the year, I stopped eating bacon. That lasted 2 weeks until I heard that beer and scotch have some kind of junk in them. If you believe every report that comes out, there's nothing left to eat.
Take it easy, Charlie. All beef doesn't have DES. But I think we should run with this story because there may be a lot of women born after 1940 who read the Trib whose mothers may have taken this stuff. They ought to get checked.
Is that widespread?
Billy thinks she might be a candidate. There are 2 or 3 other women out there on the phone to their mothers. Isn't Joni in that group?
Joni, I guess she is.
Maybe you ought to mention DES when you get home tonight.
Right home? I'm going to call right now.
What about Billy's story?
Tell her to hurry up with it.
The Armenian guy was senile, eh?
Protecting his assets.
By cutting off his own daughter?
It was his money. He could do what he wanted to.
You can call it that. Or you might say he's imposing an unreasonable demand on his daughter.
If a will isn't sacred, what is?
It's the one chance in life to get your way with no back talk.
Did you see Rossi's stuff on the girl and her husband? This fight's been pretty rough on them, too.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I think we tend to confuse money with love. If he didn't leave me all his bucks, he couldn't have cared. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Tell that to the kid who's been cut out.
There should be a way you can limit the amount you can inherit.
There is. It's called the inheritance tax.
And what's the point of working and saving for your kid's future?
Right. I want my kids to be better off than I was.
As long as they're not in this business, they'll be fine.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Annie.
Where's Mom?
She's seeing Beverly Hills.
Alone? That doesn't sound like her.
Well, she's upset.
She's upset. Well, maybe we should have lunch upstairs here in the cafeteria. It really isn't too bad.
Oh, that sounds fine.
Why can't Mom just sit down and talk to me?
Well, honey, you and she are very different. She's not as direct.
Am I too direct? Occupational hazard.
We're going to San Diego tonight to see Aunt Evie, but I don't want to leave with bad feelings.
Oh, go. You should go.
We'll be back Friday.
I tracked down every lead I could to find Dr. Bradley. I called our old drugstore in Sioux Falls. As a matter of fact, I tried every drugstore in town. I tried the AMA and the Department of Motor Vehicles. I even tried Helly Green.
Who?
Oh, she's a girl that I went to school with. She knew everything about everybody.
I tried to track him down, too. You're right. The post office lost track of him, the hospital lost track of him. But the Sioux Falls Sportsman's Club knew exactly where he was.
The Sioux Falls Sportsman's Club?
I remember sitting in his waiting room, looking at stuffed elk heads and little gray squirrels with red glass eyes.
Hey, Dad, you would have made a great reporter.
Now, where do you think he got it from? Here we go.
Thank you.
Billy, I hope you and your mother can work this out.
Well, you know what she's like. When you and I talk, it's always so much easier, and it always was.
Well, you know, even when you were growing up, it was easier for me. Your mom had you right out of school. Made you do your homework or practice your piano. Had to get dinner fixed and put on the table. And then about 7 o'clock, I'd walk through the door, ready to listen to you about your day and loving every word of it. So I was easier to talk to and easier to get along with. Of course, I didn't mind that because I wanted to be your friend. I knew even then your mom didn't have as good a deal.
I still don't understand how she could have taken pills without knowing what they were.
She was told that they would allow her to have a baby. You. Which she wanted very much.
Didn't she ask? Didn't she wonder?
Billy, you're not the only one that's scared.
Lou, I've got to go to South Dakota.
You ever been to South Dakota this time of year?
I grew up there, remember?
Then you should know better. Looks like there may have been more than one coastal commissioner on the take. There's a big press
Lou,
conference.
I've got to go. The doctor who treated my mother has her records.
Can he tell you over the phone?
I tried that. He sounds like he's 102 years old. I don't trust him. I have got to see for myself.
You've got a story here that isn't going to wait. Could you put off the trip for a few days?
No, I can't.
Is that my decision or yours?
This time it's mine, Lou.
You've done all the background on this, and I want you covering the scandal. In this business, you don't walk off in the middle of a story.
Lou, if there's something growing inside me, I have to find out. And I don't give a damn about a little graft on the Coastal Commission. This isn't the newspaper business. It's my life, and I have to know.
It's just that I think
I
that you
don't care what you think.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
I don't miss these winters.
Living in a warm climate makes your blood run thin.
Oh, that's not true, is it? Have you had experiences with other DES daughters?
No.
Well, didn't you wonder, out of all the babies you delivered?
The medications we prescribed were said to be safe.
Apparently, they weren't.
And how do you think that makes us feel, Billy? Put yourself in our position. A woman like your mother, has lost a child. We were healers. When a patient wanted something, we tried to give it to her, to help her. We prescribed in good faith.
Faith. Exactly.
Well, there are the records. Help yourself. You know, I could have done what some of my colleagues did when they heard about this.
What was that?
Lots of them destroyed their records.
Then there would be no way of knowing.
And no way of being sued.
It's unbelievable.
Well, that's the way it is.
Well, didn't your colleagues know that they couldn't be sued for following standard medical practice, which was, at the time, prescribing DES?
The public panics and doctors panic, too.
It's gone. It's not there.
Those files aren't in very good order. Keep looking.
Here it is. Newman, Betty Ruth. I'm afraid to look. I don't know how to find it.
Quite right, Mr. Grant. What do we need it for?
Quite right.
I missed Billy Newman's byline on the Coastal Commissioners today. I thought she was doing a fine job.
Yeah, Billy went home for a few days.
I hope nothing's wrong.
So do I.
Well, you can't stop there, Mr. Grant.
Well, she's been doing a series on this drug, DES.
I've been following that, too. Oh, what a disaster.
Uh-huh. Well, she thinks her mother might have been taking it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. She's been pretty upset.
It wouldn't be.
There it was. Stilbisdrol, 25 milligrams, QID. That's 4 times a day.
So your mother did take DES. What does that mean for you?
Nobody can tell me. I know I have to be checked twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's going to stay on my mind.
Billy, it's still better that you know. What did your mother say?
She's still in San Diego.
Billy, you're back. What did the doctor say?
I was telling Charlie about your story and it came up.
Well, how many other people in this newspaper know that I might have this kind of problem?
Sorry, Billy, I didn't mean to pry. Lou only told me because he cares about you.
Well, how's the story on the Coastal Commissioner coming?
Commissioner Connors resigned yesterday. Sweeney did a good job on the story.
Oh, great. So I missed a big story. It's another thing that's going just great in my life right now.
Are the elevators on the fritz again?
No, I just wanted to get away. The stairwells are always empty. Well, usually.
If I have a choice between walking or riding, I always think it's a good idea to get the exercise.
I didn't know you did that. That's so sensible.
Well, it's only been a week. What is it? Did you get bad news? I'm sorry. Mr. Grant mentioned why you went home.
You too. Well, the news could have been better.
What did you find out?
Well, my mother did take DES, but there's no indication of cancer.
Oh, what a relief. But you're still feeling a bit shaky, aren't you? Come on, sit down here a minute. I have a feeling that you're pretty damn mad.
I am. I can't believe that my mother could be so dumb. She took one of those pills every morning with her juice.
I can understand your being angry. You know, I read your story on the DES daughter. I thought it was well handled. It really made me see the suffering those two women went through.
That's my job.
But I find it hard believing I'm talking to the writer of that article.
Why?
Because you could understand that mother so well, but you can't see what your own mother's going through. Miss Newman, you have to try to think what it was like when your mother was young. It was the age of discovery. There were wonder drugs. My younger sister had pneumonia. Her life was saved because there was penicillin.
Mother wasn't taking penicillin. She didn't even ask the doctor what it was.
Of course not. You didn't question a man of science.
I guess not.
But it's a different world now, Miss Newman. Oh, we've learned some hard lessons of what we're capable of and where we can place our faith. I'm sure your mother's learned too.
Be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, both sides in this dispute have presented powerful arguments, which I'm afraid are irreconcilable. But there is legal precedent for what I am about to rule. Under public policy, any contract that injures the public welfare or unreasonably restricts personal liberty cannot be upheld. Now, the will in question goes beyond and goes against public policy of this state because it discourages marriage. Now, the freedom to marry a person of one's own choice is a private decision to which we give the highest priority in this society. And although I sympathize and am deeply moved by the strong feelings of Mr. Hartunian, I must find in favor of the plaintiff. This court stands adjourned.
George, thank you very much. Uncle Leon, wait a minute, please, Uncle Leon, wait, listen to me. It's all over now, can't we talk? Wait, Uncle Leon, please, for my father's memory, please talk to me.
Now be sure to get seats on the left side because the view to San Francisco is spectacular.
I'm sure everyone's thought of that. You know, this train may be listing to the left all the way if it goes.
Now, Paul, you told me that the train was the safest way to travel.
Yeah, but I was only kidding.
Well, it's got to be better than trying to read a map while you fight the traffic on the freeway in a rented car.
The car. Guess what? I'll be right back.
Next year I'll take you and Dad to see the desert.
Oh, that would be nice.
Now listen, I don't want you to worry about this.
I'm not worried.
All it means is that I have to have checkups. It's nothing serious.
Next time I have a baby, I'll know better. Oh, I made you some chicken. It's in the refrigerator.
Oh, Mom.
You can freeze it.
Okay.
Oh, and you will speak to your landlord about another lock on your front door.
I will.
Billy, if you only knew how this has been eating me up.
Mom.
But to think that I could have done something to harm you.
Mom, when I was in Dr. Bradley's garage, and I saw in black and white that you had taken DES, and I knew what that meant, I was so scared. I wanted to run to you and have you put your arms around me like you always did when I got bad news. But I was so mad at you, I couldn't even call. Which meant that I was alone.
You are never alone. You know, all the time in San Diego, all I could think of was, if I took that drug and didn't know it, how many thousands of other women didn't know?
Yeah.
That makes me mad.
Me too.
I feel like I should do something about it.
Like what?
I don't know. Tell other women? Maybe start with the Assistance League when I get home.
You're actually going to talk to other women about this?
It's going to kill me. But maybe I have to. Those women are all my good friends. Maybe they just have to be a little embarrassed.
All set?
You have a great trip back home.
We will.
And make sure you have your coats when you get off the train. It's cold in San Francisco.
We know.
Pick up the phone and call me once in a while. I love you, Mom.
I love you, baby.
Bye.
Fine.
He was a dashing British spy and a real ladies' man, and he taught James Bond everything he knows. Meet writer Ian Fleming and his alter ego 007 tonight on an all-new biography. Now Kurt Russell stars as a country boy who hopes to corral big city criminals on Police Story, next on A&E.